Derby County have been linked to Lincoln City defender Paudi O'Connor. However, Derby County aren't the only team in the hunt for a centre-half, with the likes of Huddersfield, Barnsley and a couple of other Championship clubs also on the hunt. Now, obviously, for Derby County, this deal is a very, very, in my opinion, disappointing one. Paudi O'Connor is 27 years old. He's an Irish player, valued at €600,000, and his contract expires this summer. And he's a player who I think, as much as he could add support for Derby County, I don't necessarily think he's a player who's going to improve what we're potentially already looking at in the building, and as well as players. You look at like Curtis Nelson, you look at Sondre Langas. I just think that at best he's going to be a squad option, and that's not necessarily what Derby County need now. Across the course of this last season, he's played 39 games in League One, scoring 3 times, collecting 5 assists with 3,378 minutes. Most of those minutes have come at centre-back, and he's played at a range of different clubs throughout his career. Leeds United, Blackpool, Limerick FC, Bradford City, and obviously now Lincoln City. He's played out at right-back, but most of his appearances have been at centre-half, where he made 316 appearances, 21 goals and 14 assists. Now, when we talk about O'Connor, I think there is obviously potential he could sign a new deal at Lincoln City. I don't necessarily think it's been confirmed that he's definitely leaving, but there is conversations going on. I think Pompey, Birmingham, I think Huddersfield and Barnsley are the other teams interested in this potential signing. And I'm not saying that it's a horrible signing. I'm not saying it's a bad signing. He's had a decent year this year for Lincoln City, a Lincoln City who I think just missed out on the playoffs. They finished 11th. Oh, they were actually quite far away from the playoffs, actually. But a player who, in my opinion, I don't necessarily think he's awful. He's not sort of the best player in the world. He's not the worst player in the world. A 7.4 rating across the course of 38 starts this season. I think he's been decent. He's averaging a 7 or above every season since 2020, which is fairly decent. And he's played 40 games a season. So when you look at a player who you want to get games out of, you want to make sure that he's going to be fit, he's certainly one. Now, while we're talking about Lincoln City, James Collins scored 10 goals in 14 starts for them, just on another topic. But I think O'Connor could be a very, very decent player. He's in the 48... He's in decent sort of standings when it comes to performance metrics and things like that. And I'm not sold, if you can't tell. I'm not really sold on this deal. I don't think it's one which Derby County should be going for. And ultimately, I don't necessarily think it's one we will be going for. If I'm completely honest, if I go and find the article, it comes from The Deck. The Deck have 5,000 followers on Twitter. They're an independent home of news and sport. And they claimed that Derby County and Stoke hold interest in the League One captain. Now, I don't necessarily believe it. I actually think it's a little bit of BS, if I'm completely honest. I don't necessarily think it's the right move for Derby. Obviously, at the moment, Derby can't make a move for him. When it comes to contracts, I think they have to wait till the final week of May before they can actually make a move. And at that point, it has to have been confirmed that he's going to be leaving. Now, it's a weird deal for me because Derby County at centre-back, if they keep Matt Clark, obviously Sondre Langas is going to stay. Curtis Nelson gets back fit and performs anywhere near the level that he was at last year. And then they bring in Nat Phillips. Do we really need O'Connor? I think it'd be another sort of Sonny Bradley circumstance where he's not necessarily going to play, going to be on the bench, sort of as an option. But obviously, I haven't really watched a lot of O'Connor, so I can't say that he's not good enough. I can't say that he is good enough. I think it's one of those where I think he's been playing in a Lincoln team that I think battled close to playoffs last year. Obviously, a Lincoln team that this season was sort of way out of reach of the playoffs. And I don't know. It's an awkward one. I don't even think he'll go to Stoke either. I think you're more likely to see him end up at Huddersfield or Barnsley, like Football League World have reported. But obviously, the honest answer is I don't think he is what we need. I think we need better, and I think we need younger, where they're coming through. Obviously, we've got Jake Rooney at the club, and the likes of Dan Cox, the likes of Kai Robinson coming through, who can all play that position. And I'm not saying they're good enough or they should be playing for Derby, but I think it's sort of a conversation that needs to be discussed, if I'm being honest. And the only reason I'm making this video is because I want to keep you all up to date with the players we're chasing after. There's a couple of academy graduates we're chasing after and things like that as well. And for me, the conversation has to be that, is O'Connor better than what we've got? Is he better than what we can get? And I don't necessarily think he is the best of the best. I don't think he's going to be the best on our targets. I don't think he's the best sort of centre-back out there available. And in my opinion, if we renew Matt Clark, keep Curtis Nelson and get him back fit, bring in Nat Phillips, renew Craig Forsyth, I just don't think it's a smart deal to bring him in. I'd actually probably prefer him to for the betterment of his career rather than for Derby's. I think he'd be better at playing, and like, I'm not necessarily saying play another season in League One, but going to one of those teams who aren't necessarily us, and that probably sounds a little bit disrespectful, and Lincoln City fans will probably come at me in the comments, but I just don't necessarily think he's what Derby County need. I think it's more a case of Derby County need bigger and better. Do I think he's better than Matt Clark? No. Do I think he's better than Nat Phillips? No. Is he better than Sondre Langas? No. So maybe there's an argument he could get in ahead of Curtis Nelson, but then if we're playing two centre halves, he's not going to get in. So it's a difficult one. It's a signing which I'm not really a fan of. You can probably tell. It's a signing that I don't think makes sense, but it's one which I think does need to be discussed. It's a link. I'll discuss all the links as long as they come from sources which I will deem reputable. And to be quite honest, this is one which I don't think is going to happen. And if it does, I'll be very underwhelmed and very disappointed with what Derby County are trying to do, if I'm completely honest, because I don't think it's the right move for the club. I don't think it's the right move for the player. But obviously, there's lots of things that can come and go with transfers and things like that. It could end up with Jake Rooney going the other way on a loan spell, playing consistent football. But I don't know. It's a very awkward one. A very, very awkward one. And when you look at the depth chart, obviously we need centre-backs, but that's without knowing what's going on with Matt Clark, without knowing the Nat Phillips situation. Is Rooney going to be involved next year? Is Nelson even going to be able to play next year? Like, what is the circumstance going to be? So I get the reason why the link has come up. I just don't necessarily think it's a link that Derby County will be actively chasing. But obviously, when we talk about transfers, a lot of the stuff I talk about, yes, I'm going to miss more than I hit, but it's not me that's finding this information. I'm not in the know. The information comes from external sources all the time. I try and put them in the video or link them down below. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, let me know your thoughts on this disappointing link down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.